Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Welcome to the Sportsman's Voice Roundup, your weekly look at conservation and sporting community news happening across the nation and on the Hill. Thanks for tuning in. This is the TSV Roundup. Welcome back, everybody, to this weekly edition of the Sportsman's Voice podcast. This is our news from around the nation roundup. This is the week of February 17th, 2025. This week's lead story: Will Primos unites with the world's leading conservation organizations to share the truth about conservation with a historic firearm auction. That is our lead story. We'll get into that here in a bit, but let's check out the rest of the headlines. CSF launches free interactive legislative and regulatory tracking service. Proposed constitutional right to hunt and fish passes committee in the Hawkeye State. Our 2025 state issue briefs book is now available. A bill introduced to continue conservation success in the Great Lakes. Massachusetts bear population is increasing and probably requires some new updates to their regulations that are likely hunter friendly. CSF hosts Changing of the Guard dinner, welcoming the new CSC leadership for the 119th. CSF priority hunter education in schools legislation introduced in Georgia. And finally, certified burner program proposed in Big Sky country. All that and more. But let us get to the big news of the week, fresh off the heels of the National Wild Turkey Federation Convention and Sports Show, where the Truth About Conservation campaign was officially kicked off. And what a great place to do it there in Nashville with our partners at NWTF. Just an amazing gathering of folks, industry personalities, business folks, state agencies, conservation organizations. Just again, it's what a great time. And like I said, this is where we kicked it off. This is Will Primos's vision, his idea of giving back, and the motivations to tell the truth about conservation. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Will Primos, there's a lot of branding here that it's getting, well, let's say an update, facelift, if you will, a new meaning. The Truth was the name of, Will was one of the pioneers of outdoor filming. It wasn't even TV shows yet, really, back in the day when he and past guest of the show and friend of CSF, Cuz Strickland, got together and started filming turkey hunts. And in our feature podcast that will drop tomorrow, you're going to hear that story of how The Truth became the title. It became the known name of those VHS tapes, those turkey hunting, those hunting videos. And now here we are in 2025. And Will's goal and passion is to tell the truth about conservation and what that means. And for us at CSF, it's a truth you guys hear quite often. How this whole thing works, how it's funded, how the American model, the North American model of wildlife conservation and management works. These are known themes and things to this audience. And Will recognize and understands the value in telling this story. So, all that to say, he is offering a very special collection of his firearms. Purdy shotguns, side by side, hammer guns, These are more of a vehicle, if you will, the carrot, to get attention, to get people's attention, as to what, as he's termed his this ripple effect, right? You'll hear him talk about it, is this idea of going up to a high alpine lake that's very still, it's glass, it's mirror perfect, and Will drops a rock and creates a ripple, and that ripple creates a wave, and then eventually it gets from shore to shore to shore to shore to shore, right? And that ripple, that wave that Will wants these guns to move is the sporting community's place in conservation, and how it is supported by very few for the good of the many. Again, as you guys hear this literally week in and week out. Let's go to the official press release. I can do a little more uh, editorializing here. Renowned conservationist and outdoorsman Will Primos partners with the Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation, Ducks Unlimited, National Wild Turkey Federation, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, and Pheasants and Quail Forever to bring awareness to what conservation is and the role sportsmen and women play through the truth about conservation. The coalition of the five greatest conservation organizations partner in partnership with the renowned conservation outdoorsman Will Primos launched the Truth About Conservation uh, public awareness campaign and firearm auction that will pull back the curtain on the critical need for wildlife habitat management and raise necessary funding for conservation. The campaign will offer a once in a lifetime opportunity to give back to conservation through a historic firearm auction that will feature Will Primos's iconic collection of Purdy Hammer shotguns, a compilation of rare and one of a kind guns, including 410, 28 gauge, 20 gauge, 16 gauge, and 12 gauge. This collection, unlike any other, will be auctioned online this coming December, and proceeds benefiting Primos's beloved organization dedicated to wildlife conservation, including CSF, DU, NWTF, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, Pheasants, and Quail Forever. Reflecting on the roots of his inspiration for the auction, Primo shared, "It dawned on me one day how important the habitat is to everything we value in the outdoors. I wanted to give back in a way that was special, something that would make a lasting impact. That's when I realized the true purpose of this collection. It's about doing great work for conservation." And obviously, he's talking about the guns there. Uh, this from our president and CEO, Jeff Crane. This unique collaboration, born of like minded hunters and anglers who are passionate about conservation. We are appreciative of Will's personal dedication to spreading awareness about our nation's natural resources through the donation of his exclusive firearm collection. And we look forward to carrying his conservation legacy forward. The press release goes on to quote some of the other organizations' leadership. You guys can check that out, and I encourage you to do so. Um, the campaign unites these influential conservation groups who will work together to create conservation conversation and evolve the education so that sporting community is better equipped to speak the language by fostering a deeper understanding and relationship between policy, science-based habitat, and wildlife management, spreading awareness about the North American model of wildlife conservation, a system unrivaled globally, underscoring the need for people to recognize that the public at large, regardless of whether or not they hunt or fish, benefit immensely from the contributions of hunters, anglers, through abundant wildlife, healthy landscapes, and access to all these resources. And this is the truth, Primos concluded. This is the truth about conservation. The guns will travel the country and be officially auctioned off December 5th through the 7th by Rock Island Auction. And you can go to the link there in the article for more. Now, we covered the truth, and I want to go back to speak the language. So, speak the language was another one of these, trademark lines from the Primos brand. And coming up, you're speaking the language. When it's a call company, Will and his company made turkey calls, duck calls, elk calls. If there's a call to be made, a wild game call for hunting. They made it. Predator calls, whole line of those. And that was called speaking the language, right? So and then here's another twist on speaking the language. And again, I'm teeing up the show for tomorrow, but this is what Will wants us. This is the truth about conservation, and he wants us as a community to speak the language of conservation and then everything I just laid out there, right? So again, this is not these themes are not new to this audience, and I know you guys have heard me beat this drum, especially when it comes to the American system of conservation funding, Pittman Robinson, Dingle Johnson, and others. That I said this at NWT. So Will, myself, Connor Barker out of the Southeast states, and NWTS Paul Campbell. We had a seminar talking about this very thing, this campaign, and what the whole goal was. And I looked at that audience and I told them, and then again, you guys have heard this. Wild turkey is the number one wildlife restoration success story in North America, hands down, hands down. Very closely followed by Rocky Mountain elk, right? And then the turn of the last century, we've told this story. All these species almost extrapolated from the landscape, and then here we are, fast forward 2025, like opportunities abound because of that is the single greatest conservation success story, in my opinion, and I think others agree with me, and should be paramount, the number one story we advance when we talk about these things. Now, you can use a turkey, you can use the elk, you can use black bear, fill in the blank as your supplement to your arguments, but the fact that almost 100 years ago, a whole bunch of stakeholders got together, consumptive and non-consumptive users, and said, "We gotta fix this. There's a problem, recognize there's a problem," and voluntarily, right, voluntarily raised our hands and said, "Put it on our backs. We're gonna fix this. We gotta fix, we gotta solve. We're gonna assess a 10 to 11% excise tax on guns and ammunition and parts." And then that obviously, as time progressed, we apply that to archery tackle. We apply that to boats. We apply that to fishing tackle to fund this whole thing, to go back and make sure at the state level it's working, at the federal level it's working. That is the truth. And when we speak the language, this is the language we all as a community need to speak. When we're having these conversations in our communities, when anti-hunters, anti-trappers are ballyhooing at a state house, or they're protesting out front about trapping or hound hunting, or they're working a certain legislator to promote a bad bill that is antithetical to the North American model of wildlife conservation and would take away from the American system of conservation funding. This is the truth. This is the story we tell as a community, and we all need to get on board with it. And gosh, it is an easy story to tell. And I don't know if I'm just super wonky and nerdy about it, but like when you think about it, and go back, you guys can go back and listen to Ben O'Brien. Ben is again, not blowing smoke up his backside here, but like he is a modern day like authority on this whole thing. He's done extensive work on it and editorializing and research. Go back and listen to our conversation with Ben on this very thing. Why this is so remarkable and the staying power. Again, we're coming up. We're 2000. We're 12 years away. We're 12 years away from hitting the century mark on this thing. That's pretty incredible. You know, it's really remarkable, and why it's the envy of the entire planet. Why this thing works, how it works. A little bit more about Rock Island as partners here, and what's really cool about what they're doing. So there's two fees. I want to make sure I get this right. There's a seller's commission. There's another commission. Forgive me. Rock Island is waiving the seller's commission, I believe, because they understand the importance of this. So who's Rock Island? I'm gonna read right from them because they're the best ones to tell it. Rock Island Auction Company is renowned for its extraordinary firearms, unprecedented results, and an overarching dedication to quality. Established in 1993 by founder Pat Hogan, Rock Island Auction Company offers its clients the finest publicly available firearms, industry-leading innovation, and a standard of excellence built on integrity, passion, and expertise. The values have drawn a dedicated clientele from dozens of countries and driven a string of world records that Rock Island Auction Company has taken great pleasure in breaking and resetting repeatedly. Specializing strictly in the auctioning of antique and collector firearms and militaria, Rock Island Auction Company hosts over 1 dozen gun auctions annually in 4 unique formats, catering to every level of collecting experience. So these are the guys. These are the folks that make stuff happen. And if you're going to sell a one of a kind collection, these are the folks that do it. And the fact that they're waiving one of their commissions so that we can maximize the potential on this is huge. You know, the guns are appraised at $800,000. Obviously, Will's hoping, we're all hoping that, they go for more. And it's not hyperbole to say these are one of a kind. Will went to Purdy and requested that they make him a 410 and a 28 gauge. They said, we don't have that. We don't even have plans for it. And Will says, well, you're gonna. They hear him tell it's way cooler. Uh, but more or less, he's like, you're gonna figure a way out to do it, and you're gonna complete this collection. Now, Purdy guns are all handmade. There's no CNC machinery. All the engraving is done by hand. Like these are masterful pieces of art. You really got to see them to appreciate it. I mean, I did, and I mean, the story is fantastic. Just the uniqueness of them and the rarity, but to hold them and to feel that craftsmanship in your hand. I know not everyone's going to get a chance to do that, but if you're at one of these conventions, like we were at NWTF, and you get to go see Rock Island, they'll exhibit. These guns are gonna travel. Go see them. You may not be able to touch them. I might have had a little exclusive access, um, but damn, they're fine. And, you don't have to be a gun enthusiast to appreciate the craftsmanship here. You just don't. All these guns, all 5 guns have a consecutive numbering. Their serial numbers are consecutive. Again, making them all that more special. A little bit about the gun manufacturer here. James Purdy and Son is among the top fine firearms in the world, creating exceptional firearms since 1814. Some of the finest game shops in the Victorian period used Purdy hammer ejector guns, including His Majesty King George V, as well as Earl de Grey, who is regarded by many as the most famous game shooter of all time and used a trio of Purdy hammer guns. Purdy reintroduced their iconic classic hammer gun in 2004, marrying the style and elegance of the 19th century with a modern technology of the 21st century while still maintaining the attention to detail and hand fitting of each gun crafted throughout their 200 plus year history. They have never wavered in their pursuit of perfection, with each and every gun a combination of top materials, skilled artisans, and time. This consecutive shotgun quintet is a testament to the exceptional quality achieved by the firm and a true rarity to appear at public auction. So there you have it. Big news, big announcement, big campaign. So we're going to build this up. We're talking about it throughout the year. Um, Check back with us. I don't want to tell you where they're going to be because I don't know for sure. I want to take a guess, probably Pheasant Fest, right? Um, and some of the other uh, groups here that are benefiting. We'll find a way to showcase them. As we find out, I'll let you know. But it's huge. This is a huge deal. Um, what Will has done here, his inspiration, and really, again, The guns are great. The collection's never to be done again, never to be duplicated, replicated, all that. But speaking the truth about conservation and getting everybody in our community to pick this up, this flag, and carry it. This is a story we tell. And this is how I think we continue to maintain, and build support for our community. So, to bring it all home, when we are working in our state capitals, when you as a citizen engage, when you as a legislator hear one of us testify, this is what we're talking about. This is the story. This is the motivation. All of what is good in conservation, what is good on the landscape, what is good when you travel on vacation, or you travel from sea to shining sea and everywhere in between, the beautiful things you see are because of a group of like-minded people that got together nearly 100 years ago, said, "We have a way to fix this and make this right." They did it and continues today, and for the good of the many, it's done on the backs of a few. Thank you, Will Primos, for your dedication to this, and you dropping that pebble in that mirror glass lake up there in the Alpines, and creating a ripple, and making waves out of those ripples. More to come tomorrow. An exclusive sit down with Will Primos here on the Sportsman's Voice podcast. We're going to get into this deep dive. You're going to hear from Will himself, and you're going to learn some things. It's a hell of a show. I really enjoyed the time with Will. So let us continue. CSF launches free interactive legislative and regulatory tracking cert. Guys, this is cool. This is so cool. Our comms team, our crack team in comms, they are just awesome and amazing. And there is, we've been promoting a little bit, but now officially it's out there. You guys can go any of your states, any bills you got, you can go look them up and track them through the Tracking the Capital. Tracking the Capitals is a free interactive service and is now available through the Congressional Sportsmen Foundation website, congressionalsportsman.org, congressionalsportsman.org. Say it with me one more time, congressionalsportsman.org. Go there now. Users will now have the ability to search for specific legislation or regulations on the issues and in the states. Additionally, this service will allow users to set up personalized email alerts that can be tailored to receive the information of greatest interest that will be delivered directly to their inbox. I probably wouldn't provide your spam, that Yahoo Hotmail account from the early 2000s if this one is important to you. The CSF state program team provides support for the 50 states legislative sportsmen's caucuses organized under the bipartisan National Assembly Sportsmen's Caucuses, made up of over 2,100 state legislators, as well as 23 members of the bipartisan Governor Sportsmen's Caucus. As part of this support, the state's program team tracks legislation and regulations related to hunting, angling, recreational shooting, and trapping, as well as other fish and wildlife conservation concerns across the country. Tracking the capitals allows you to search specific legislation, regulations, or regulations on the issues and in states that you are most interested in. This interactive service allows you to gain information at a time of your choosing and gives you the flexibility to refine your search criteria to provide you with only the information you wish to see. Additionally, this service will allow you to set up personalized email alerts for the states and or issues you are most interested in. To take advantage of this free web-based service, you will need to set up a username and password to access the features. For administrative help and questions about the new Tracking the Capitals, please contact Leslie Garrett at lgarrett at congressionalsportsman.org. Leslie is our comms director and is just fantastic and outstanding at what she does, and her team. And what a resource. And again, more free stuff from your friends at CSF. Um, Pause this, go there now so you don't forget. Sign up, then come back, listen to us. I'll remind you again. End of this. All right, this from Jake Gould. Proposed constitutional right to hunt and fish passes committee in the Hawkeye State. Efforts to protect the right to hunt and fish and harvest wildlife via a constitutional amendment are currently making their way through the Iowa legislature. The proposed amendment recently passed the House of Natural Resources Committee and now heads to the floor for further consideration. CSF and several conservation organizations are continuing the efforts from 2023 and 2024 to grow support among the sporting community. Iowa House Joint Resolution 7 is what we're talking about here. Um, and this is what Jacob and company are continuing their efforts that started in 23 when the proposed amendment was originally introduced. So let's go back a few days. On February 11th, House Natural Resources Committee voted to pass House Joint Resolution 7 out of committee and send it to the House floor, will it be scheduled for further action by full chamber. CSF submitted testimony in support of the resolution, highlighting the importance of protections the constitutional right to hunt, fish, and harvest wildlife will offer sportsmen and women in the Hawkeye State. With efforts to undermine participation in the outdoor traditions continuing to pop up around the country, constitutionally protecting these rights represents an important step towards safeguarding the future of Iowa's outdoor heritage. If passed, Resolution 7 would provide Iowa citizens with the opportunity to weigh in on the conversation and vote to protect their time honored traditions. Though there are still several hurdles the proposed amendment will need to cross before uh, being voted on by Iowa citizens. Efforts to enact the proposed constitutional amendment have been going on for several sessions, most recently in 2023. Where the proposed amendment failed to make it out of the respective committees, those efforts were carried over into last year, where they again did not move out of committee. While these efforts did not succeed in the past session, the previous efforts to gain support for constitutional amendment have helped Joint Resolution 7 make it further in the legislative process than past efforts. CSF will continue to uh, work with in-state partners and continue our efforts. Our conservation organizations and the Iowa Legislative Sportsmen's Caucus to further gain support for the right to hunt and fish. Exciting stuff there in Iowa. And again, as we've talked about, when it comes to that specific topic, it is quite the undertaking. So good for them for taking this on and continuing to have another crack at it and let it continue to set new records on its progression, hopefully over the finish. Our Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation's 2025 state issue briefs are now available. Another fantastic, wonderfully, beautifully produced product from our communication staff in collaboration with um, our state team, policy team, but another free resource from us to you. You need only go to congressionalsportsman.org and access this. So this is our collection, our updated, most recent information on our issue briefs. There's so much stuff in here. So we've covered no net loss, license reimbursement in the past, hunter ed in the schools, college resident license fees, wildlife councils. I mean, we've covered a lot of stuff. New to you in 2025. Some of those new items include fanning or reaping as a method of taking turkeys, modernizing muzzleloader definitions, South Atlantic red snapper management, and straight wall rifle cartridges. So basically, if you got a question about a certain specific policy, hunting contests, for example, any of those I just listed off, you can go there's a table of contents. They're put into 4 different sections: access and opportunity, conservation, protecting and promoting our sporting heritage, and youth engagement in R3. Um, designed by CSF to assist the 50 state sportsman caucuses and the more than 2,100 state legislators currently united throughout the NASC network. State issue briefs provide critical background on policy and regulations impacting America's outdoor heritage. Also available to sportsmen's community at large, the issue brief catalog equips sportsmen and women with the background necessary to participate in policymaking efforts. So if you're going to write a letter, right? If there's something going on in your state and you have the opportunity to write a legislator, state, instead of, because often some of these systems are flawed, right? When they're like, oh, I hear, organization X is like, yeah, just put your name and your address here, and then we'll send it on your behalf. And you get these canned letters, which I mean is great, but what ends up happening. The truth of it is, you end up spamming. You're spamming the legislators, and they know it, and they get pissed, and then they ignore it. I mean, it's just the truth of it. Pull the curtain back. With our issue briefs, I'm not saying, you're welcome to copy and paste, I suppose, but, you know, you can take the arguments we have laid out and use those to supplement your concerns, your arguments, and then put that in a text field and then send your own letter. And then that's going to get to your legislators far more impactful um, than, just stacking the same letter over and over again, which again is as it works, it gets people's attention. I'm not saying it's wrong, but you have a great resource again from us to you for free. That it's a whole bunch of different whys we have it, but use it as a resource. It's there for you. More topics, a wide range of topics include public access to private land, freshwater angling access, conservation sales tax, state fish and wildlife management authority, firearm suppressors, hunting with dogs, senior veterans, in active duty military hunting and angling privileges, whitetail deer management, hunting as a preferred management tool, Sunday hunting. Some of y'all still got Sunday hunting issues. We're working on it. Apprentice hunting licenses, Hunter R3 recruitment, retention, and reactivation, among many others. Each year, CSF state and federal policy teams track more than 7,000 policy proposals related to hunting, angling, recreational shooting, and trapping, and other conservation issues. As a result of those efforts, CSF's network of federal and state sportsmen's caucuses, over 1,400 pro sportsmen's bills have been passed in the last 7 years. Heck yeah. So there it is, New You 2025 issue brief catalog. Go to the website. You can access all this stuff. And hopefully it helps you. Would love to hear that. This from Chris Horton. Bill introduced to continue conservation success in the Great Lakes. From lunker lake trout to a hefty smallmouth bass, the Great Lakes are a national treasure for anglers. However, numerous water quality impairments and the persistent threat of invasive species require reoccurring investments to ensure that successful restoration efforts that began in 2010 continue to enhance the lake's fisheries today and into the future. Congressional Sportsmen's Caucus Vice Chair Senator Gary Peters and CSC member Senator Todd Young are championing the effort to do just that. Since 2010, the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, an effort supported by CSF, has united federal agencies, states, tribes, and non-governmental partners in a strategic, measurable effort to solve problems for the health and productivity of the Great Lakes. Senate Bill 528 would reauthorize and increase funding for the Great Lake Restoration Initiative, GLRI, a highly successful program for which Great Lake anglers reap the rewards. Last week, CSC Vice Chair Senator Gary Peters and CSC member Senator Todd Young introduced the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative Act of 2025. a bill to reauthorize Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. This program was established by Congress in 2010 and has since made significant strides in protecting and enhancing recreational fisheries by restoring Great Lake water quality, mitigating harmful algae blooms, and managing and preventing the spread of aquatic nuisance species. Through spring of 2024, some examples of accomplishments of the GLRI include opened more than 6,000 river miles for fish passage, restored or enhanced more than 460,000 acres of habitat, including over 65,000 acres of coastal wetlands, accelerated restoration of the Great Lakes commercial and recreational fisheries, annually valued at greater than $7 billion dollars, implemented invasive species control activities on more than 200,000 acres, kept self-sustaining populations of silver, bighead, and black carp out of the Great Lakes, reduced more than 2 million pounds of phosphorus loading and priority watershed, which contributes to harmful algae blooms, annually captures more than 375 million gallons of untreated urban runoff. GLRI is a partnership between federal, state, tribal, and non-governmental entities that strategically address the highest priority threats to the Great Lakes and its tributaries. The benefits of the program are evident in exceptional fishing opportunities in the region, often showcased through televised fishing tournament events. The CSF looks forward to working with the bill sponsors and members of the CSC to see that it is enacted and the Great Lakes remain a popular fishing destination for anglers across the US and the world. Whew, we got a lot going on here this week. This is running a bit late, so thanks for hanging with us. Let's try to get through these last few articles. Massachusetts bear population increases require new hunter-friendly regulations. This from Christian Ragosta. Um, we're expanding. It looks like the state Mass Wildlife wants to propose regulatory amendments uh, that would create new opportunities. Those are a youth bear permit will be created for 12 to 17-year-olds, allowing this age group to now hunt black bears with an appropriate added tag. Mentors will not have to sacrifice their own personal tag or mentees from the ages of 12 to 14 to harvest the bear. The black bear hunting season will be extended from Labor Day until the close of shotgun deer season. The definition of baiting has been clarified to not cause confusion to entrap hunters who may be positioned near natural food sources. I want to go on that. So, clearing up that confusion for hunters, the division clarifies what constitutes baiting in Massachusetts to help educate and protect hunters who are utilizing natural resources of field, which should not be designated as bear track. The proposed definition change is to add this statement: food sources deposited by natural vegetation from agricultural or gardening practices or standing crops planted and left as wildlife food plots do not constitute as baiting. The purposeful dispersal of substance to attract bear to hunting is still illegal in Massachusetts. That certainly helps. I Vermont, I think, has about the same, uh, a lot of other states in Massachusetts. So, I mean, it's not out of the box there. So, bears love corn, and, I mean, if you got standing corn that's left, that's a surefire way to tag a bear. So, good opportunities there in Massachusetts, especially a state that's challenged on some of our issues, to increase opportunity, while using hunters as the preferred method of wildlife management. Well, there you go. So, good on Mass for recognizing that, and, thank you to Christian for that reporting. Uh, Last week, we hosted our Changing of the Guard dinner, welcoming in the new CSC leadership for the 119th Congress. Did do a little reporting on that last week, so I won't belabor this very much. But it was a great time. Our new members have come on, and the leadership in the Senate will be co-chair Senator John Bozeman of Arkansas, Senator Angus King of Maine, and the vice chair Senator Roger Marshall of Kansas, and Senator Gary Peters of Michigan. In the House, Representative Bruce Westerman of Arkansas and Representative Jimmy Panetta of California continue their co-chairs, and Representative August Pfluger of Texas and Rep. Troy Carter of Louisiana will serve as vice chairs. All in a forthcoming episode. Catch up with all the leadership and at present, as of this recording, less Congressman Panetta, but we're hoping to square that away. So again, in 2 Thursdays from this week, we're going to bring you the sound from our new leadership. Much of it coming from this evening's event. But it was great. A lot of bipartisan camaraderie, the acknowledgement of that, why CSC works, why we work on things that we have in common that we're passionate about. Um, we can get things done. And that was echoed from all the leadership. And we're grateful for that leadership and for them championing that bipartisan or nonpartisan, however you want to term it, effort. Wrapping it up here with 2 more to bring you. This from Connor Barker, CSF priority. Hunter education in schools legislation has been introduced in Georgia. On February 13th, the Georgia Legislative Sportsmen's Caucus and its co-chair representatives, Chas Cannon and Matt Dubnick, among other caucus members, introduced House Bill 451, which would allow public schools to offer hunter safety education courses in grades 6 through 12. Awesome. The curriculum for the course would be optional and based on hunter safety education courses currently offered by the Georgia DNR and be taught by individuals who meet qualifications set by the DNR. House Bill 451 is currently awaiting committee assignment. Advancing hunter education in the school programs has been a long-standing priority for CSF. Other states have explored similar efforts supported by CSF. In Michigan and Illinois, there is currently legislation proposed that would create a model program for firearm safety to be offered as an elective in schools that would also include instruction on hunter safety education. I brought that from you from Bob Matthews last week. We talked about that very thing. Representatives Cannon and Dubnick's bill focuses on the goal of providing young and beginning hunters with the information they need to understand the basics of hunting, general hunting practices, wildlife conservation, and conservation ethic shared by sportsmen and women. The bill provides that hunting safety courses in public schools help to recruit the next generation of sportsmen and women, which contributes to our Hunter R3 efforts. House Bill 451 requires that State Board of Education develop content standards for instruction in hunting safety no later than April 1st of 2026. Local school boards will have the option to establish the curriculum in hunting safety beginning in the 26-27 school year. CSF would like to thank Representatives Cannon and Dubnick for their initiative and leadership on this critical issue that would benefit Georgia's youth. CSF looks forward to working with the caucus, the DNR, and our partners on this initiative. Fantastic. Good job, Connor. Thanks for bringing that to us. And finally, we're head out west. Our friend Marie Newmiller brings us this certified burner program proposed in Big Sky Country. Prescribed fire is one of the most effective and cost-effective tools used for forest and wildlife habitat managers across the states. However, the dangers associated with the use of fire, along with public's inflation between prescribed burning and devastating wildfires, can make it a bit intimidating in its use to those who lack professional training. Fortunately, Montana House Bill 84 would create a certification program to provide practitioners with training and liability protections designated to promote the use of prescribed fire in Montana. House Bill 84, called the Prescribed Manager Certification and Liability Act, was recently heard in the House of Representatives Natural Resource Committee. House Bill 84 creates a prescribed fire manager certification and defines liability standards for certified managers. Two-step designed to address uncertainty surrounding the risks associated with the use of prescribed fire. CSF is working closely with partners and members of the Montana Legislative Sportsmen's Caucus to support House Bill 84. Given the importance of low-intensity fire to many ecosystems across the country, as well as the role that prescribed fire can play in reducing fuel loads that contribute to devastating wildfires, many in the conservation community support the increased use of prescribed burning. Unfortunately, misconceptions about prescribed burning and liability concerns are often cited as a reason that practitioners avoid its use. By creating a certification program that includes well-defined liability standards for those who receive their certification, Montana would join states like Missouri and Arkansas in addressing these concerns while promoting prescribed burning across the state. CSF and many of our partners from across the sporting conservation community stand in support of House Bill 84 and will continue to advocate on behalf of the important legislation as it continues through the legislative process. Well, that's cool. That's good. There's a creative fix there, and sounds like already exists some of the models there in I think Arkansas and Missouri, as Marie said. So again, another topic we've talked about extensively, and we'll continue to talk about, especially with John Clazier, our director of forestry policy, and has Fix Our Forest, works its way through the Hill, and talking through that with Senators Bozeman and Congressman Westerman and the rest of the CSC that supports that federal initiative. Important. It's a huge important topic, bill, management tool, and one that the sporting community mostly is behind, and it probably takes some education, but the real education lies with the general public at large, much like our community and its importance and what we started with the truth about conservation, the press release, and then bringing it all home. It all comes together. So, super long roundup this week, but a lot of important information, a lot of good stuff happening, a lot of stuff happening state level, and want to bring it all to you and break some of it down. So, thanks for hanging. Appreciate you guys coming along. Tune in tomorrow. This is a great episode with Will Primos. We're going to talk all about the Purdy guns. We're going to talk about the truth of conservation, speaking that language. You're going to get to know Will if you only heard his name or only seen the logo as you're walking through any brick and mortar, or Primos is so far distributed. I think if you walking through a Walmart, you probably find a Primos call. So tune in. This is a great one. I ask that y'all share this one. Help us get the word out. Not only benefiting CSF this campaign in December, but our partners as well at NWTF, Ducks Unlimited, Rocky Mountain Elk, and Pheasants and Quail Forever. So it's a hell of an initiative. Super just giving of Will, and excited to get behind it and stand it up. So tune in tomorrow for that. Go to the website, congressionalsportsman.org. Sign up for the TSV. It's free. Sign up for Tracking the Capitals. It's free. Go check out the issue briefs. Also free. And then keep tuning in because this is free. Everyone's getting something. So we appreciate your support. As always, CSF is your inside connection to outdoor legislation. I got it done in under 50 minutes. We'll see you next week. See ya. Thanks for joining us on this edition of the Sportsman's Voice podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, your support is crucial, and you can help us out right now by leaving a review, filling in those 5 stars where available, sharing this episode with friends and family, and engaging with us socially. CSF can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. Together, we can protect the outdoor sports we love and continue to keep you informed wherever you are. That's it for this week. Until next time, we'll see you later.